Deborah.
Looking at the size of the packet, I thought the meeting would be long, and then when I opened it up and saw it was all the engineering stuff. How are we gonna pick somebody?
I've done a chart and tried to figure out how to do that, even after the interview.
I mean, I was just on numbers alone. I mean, Oliver, we already have a contract with. To me, it seems.
Thank you, I
We
think.
don't have that.
I know.
No.
But we also, the quality of the work, we know what they do. But, you know, I'm not an engineer, so I don't know how to read these reports. So I don't know how we make an informed decision without an engineer.
After 6 interviews, I then studied all the figures and figured out which we're not gonna do all the projects. So I figured out which
I did
projects
understand through your letter.
Yeah, which projects I thought we would do and make that little chart. Then you could compare apples to apples.
Oh my God. And Oliver's is the thickest one too. I mean, oh my Lord. Well, you're gonna be getting some more notepads for the office.
Yeah, but that is double-sided.
That's what?
That is double-sided. Yours isn't double-sided, everybody else is.
Right. But from this, you'll get office pads.
Oh, yeah, there's quite a few office
Are those
pads.
all right? Did you tell the ladies to save me the fat piece?
I did, most of them have been out, but,
Again?
yeah. The quarantining is interesting.
Yes.
All right. Okay. I turned that on. Now, I apologize for that. It was only supposed to be for Amanda, but then I came up with all.
It's so hard.
You better join through the town website to see what she's doing.
Okay.
Here.
Yeah.
If you need to speak to Zoom, but listen to these.
That's the better way to do it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's good to know for the future.
Who?
That's one. It's weird.
I'm ready for cold, so my body is evacuated. And this, shell
Yeah.
over it today, I was like dying.
Yeah, too hot. It's funny.
It's almost a full house tonight. On what we can have for a full house.
Is Amanda not gonna be here?
Amanda has her son's induction into the National Honor Society, which is a big item. So she said she'd join us later if she could.
Oh, yeah, I already got those.
I don't have it yet,
Yeah, it's fine.
You need them? Meet you halfway, how's that?
Thank you. That's the way to do things, right? I'm just trying to connect here. Kathy, does it show anything on your screen that I'm activated or?
Oh, you just popped up and it says,
Okay.
it wasn't there before. It just popped up Doug's iPad, enter the waiting room.
I'm good, that's nice. I was having trouble with my computer earlier, it wouldn't like start any of my programs, and then it finally started like 10 minutes before I needed to leave, and I'm like, you stay home, I'm taking an eye test, please.
Well, I think some of this was on 6 Zoom sessions today, and there were issues with each of them. And normally there's no trouble with those organizations, so we think it's an
Zoom's gonna have to
upgrade.
do some upgrades. Everybody's using
Yeah,
it.
I think today is a really busy day because my phone is really low, my office computer in the store is low, my home computer is
I couldn't print stuff off because we have a wire.
It was after a storm, so that is right too.
It was what?
After a storm.
Yes.
The high winds, which then caused.
We don't know where some of
Yeah.
it.
Did you tell Darcy? How I know that you and Karen and Darcy are the only two that are building.
Okay, so Amanda is going to be joining us later on this evening, after, if she's able to, after a commitment that she has. So we're gonna go ahead and get started. I'd like to welcome everyone to the December 1st, 2020 regular meeting of the Pittsfield Town Council in the Pittsfield Municipal Building. If everyone could please stand for the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And if you could have just a brief moment of silence, please. Thank you. The next item is adoption of minutes of the regular meeting held on November 17th and the budget workshop that followed on November 17th as well. And counselors, that was forwarded under a separate email. Does anyone have any questions, concerns, or changes that need to be made to those minutes tonight?
No, I move we adopt the minutes as presented.
Second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any of those will pass. Presentations, congratulations, and introductions. Doctor?
So presentations, congratulations, and introductions. We have community and economic development activities and events. We'd like to remind everyone, and for those that don't know about it, we're going to be celebrating tomorrow evening. The Pittsfield Holiday Lights Parade will take place on Wednesday, December 2nd, 2020, which is tomorrow evening at 6 p.m. Everyone will meet in their vehicles at Hawthorne Park and then follow the Pittsfield fire truck to view the holiday displays after the gazebo is lit up. And so everybody should stay in their vehicles for safety. And then the fire truck will be there, and I'm sure people can line up and merge in. And then there's quite a few holiday displays around town. I wanted to note that we also did present information on celebrating Small Business Saturday. On Saturday, November 28th, advertised that as much as we could on Facebook, how Pittsfield advertised it. It was on everybody's webpage, and so we would recommend and celebrate businesses every day and just have everybody shop in town and Pittsfield businesses as much as we can. We have many economic development projects that are ongoing, and you can see the construction around town. I read off the list at several of the last meetings, so we're very, very fortunate. We have many projects on many roads. Our long-awaited Pittsfield video, which shows off our great quality of life, unique position in the state of Maine, and our many assets, is nearly complete. I was advised today by Gary Jordan Jr., who's our Pittsfield Economic Expansion Corporation Director, who's been spearheading this project, along with our Vice President, Michael Gray, that it's almost completed. Michael is here this evening to talk about the distribution and promotion of the video. We've spent some money now, and we waited a long time for the video, so we need to make sure it's distributed widely. And this is a great time to do it because of so many people looking to move to rural areas and bring their businesses here. So Michael Gray is here this evening.
You want me to speak now, Catherine?
Yes, thank you.
Okay. A couple of different things to mention. I'll stay on. You heard me talk about Verizon building a new tower in town. That's almost complete. Site selection person will be in town on Thursday, and my guess is that they will wrap up a site by the coming week anyway. So that'll just add to the cell phone coverage that we have here in town, and it'll be in a high enough spot so the way they do those RF signals, it should cover quite a bit of downtown and maybe even further. So to get to what Catherine said, this video is going to come and it's probably going to be 2.5 minutes long, which really is too long to put on to a television station, something like that. So what I envision, and we haven't had a peak meeting yet, but when we do, we're going to bring some of these ideas to it. We can break that down to 30-second spots, if you will. And that's pretty much what the television programming kind of looks at. When you look at the cost of a 30-second spot in southern Maine, and we looked at the Nielsen survey, or I did anyway, Pete hasn't. You go over maybe a 4 or 5 month period with 30-second spots, and if you did 80 or 90 of those, you could be talking some significant money in the range of $20,000 to $25,000. But I think what we really need to do now that we have the growth going on in Pittsfield, we need to be marketing to businesses that could complement what we have going right now. And not only bringing new people and their children to town, but along with businesses and people who want to come up here and build houses. So I'm looking at that 495, 128 corridor when you go from New Hampshire down through 128, Lowell, Lawrence, Worcester. When you look at the cost of doing business in that neck of the woods, substantially higher than it would be here. Now, that's the good part. The bad part is we still don't have enough properties, if you will, to really make it that attractive. But the planning board is looking at what can be done, where we can go with perhaps developments, housing developments, or commercial. So in one respect, it's a good problem to have. In the other respect, it's not so good. We can deal with it. But what I'm going to propose we do with Peak is once we get this video, we start using it. And the entire video would be available to anyone in town. I mean, that's how I envision it. It should be on our website. And then when we start doing spots to target, that corridor down there, and even southern Maine. But, we've got to be careful. The money we spend, we need to have a return on the investment. So I would welcome any suggestions from the council or town members. If you've got something burning in the back of your mind that you'd like me to follow up on, just let me know. So.
How would we contact you if I have a sudden brainstorm?
Just ask anybody in town where Mike Gray lives, they'll tell you. I can give you my email address.
That would be good.
That's easy, all right. And Catherine has it as well. So, and then we can put those into some sort of format to bring to people. Any questions? Jim?
Yeah, you, later on, you may be able to get you never know, you could get like a spot on Channel 6 down in the South Portland, down to 13 or something. They're always doing these pieces about small towns in Maine and all that. I don't know what that cost would that, obviously we'd have to do that. But
if you want to really see the cost.
it'd probably scare you.
I've got a breakdown of 119 spots over a 5-month period would be $25,005. And that's on the primary channel, which is the Tegna Network, CSH, WLBZ, and they control pretty much about 60% of the market in that area. But I think we need to make it attractive to out-of-state people where their real cost of doing business is very high. I've got a cousin who's moving up here from Plymouth, Mass, bought a house up on in St. Albans. And, you know, their cost of living is gonna go down substantially from where they are. So, you know, we need to start attracting those.
I would really like to see that video. How can I go about?
Well, we haven't got the finished product
Okay,
yet.
well, I mean, I've got some ideas already without even seeing it.
Well, it's professionally done by a company called Blackfly Media down in Port. And I've got, you know, we did some teasers, if you will, and the council members, well, no, I guess the council members didn't. I know you saw one, and Deb did. But if any council members would
I
like
never
to see
saw
it,
it.
I'm more than happy to show it. It's a proprietary video at this point, so it's not available to anyone. But I would share it with council members, certainly. So, Matt?
Have you contacted Blackfly Media in regards to marketing the town? Perhaps they work with other towns and may have some ideas as well.
They do. They've worked specifically with the town of Bethel, and really were very successful over there. Their video, or the one we're getting, is going to be based somewhat on that. You know, we had overhead pictures of Puritan in the construction stage. What we wanted was the finished product. So they came back up and got some more info and did drone footage. So it'll be interesting to see that final product, and it's a quality product. So.
Does it promote the Russian ballet that I brought here?
It promotes MCI. I'm not sure specifically whether they targeted the ballet program.
It is extraordinary, and
Oh, no question.
I put a lot of time and money into getting that here.
I know MCI is in there. To what degree, I'm not really sure. Like I said, I haven't seen the final
Yeah,
product.
well, I've got a good relationship with Chris McDonald.
Any other questions?
No, thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Looking forward to seeing it.
It'll be fun, I think.
Oh, we're all set, thanks.
Okay. Public hearings and old business, there is none, so we'll move on to reports. Council committees, finance committee. Amanda's not here, but we haven't had a finance committee since our last report on the 17th. We have an upcoming finance committee on December 8th, which is next Tuesday, and I believe it's 6:30?
It'll be 5 o'clock.
5 o'clock, okay, finance committee's at 5. Okay, 5 o'clock on 12/8 will be our next finance committee meeting. Ordinance committee has not met. We're trying to get through the budget process, and then we have a few items that we'll be dealing with from the planning board, as well as the water sewer rate. What's the name of that document?
Yes, there's the terms and conditions
Terms and
for the
conditions.
water department, which is just upgrading all of the requirements for getting meters and how everything is done.
Okay.
And so that's to update us to meet the new requirements and to take care of issues that have come up. There's also a water rate increase study that's ongoing that is almost ready. I just did another question, it should be ready this week. And then we went through the sewer ordinance, which is 1970s, and the town council had to listen to me go over every single page of the document and all the changes and everything. So I did that one, but I'm not an engineer, so it's at our consultants for water sewer, who will get to it as soon as they can and then fix it as necessary.
Okay, so we'll be looking at dealing with all that in January, February.
Yes. I think you'll get a couple of drafts before then, but likely you won't deal with it till January.
Okay. Sounds good. And the recycling committee is not currently
No.
scheduling any meetings?
No reports this time.
Okay, thanks, Tim. Board and committee updates by town council and manager. I believe just Catherine on that.
All right, very good. The airport committee is moving slowly towards setting up a meeting. The airport committee chair is Mark Cochran. He is starting a study of towns our size with airports and others in the area to look at all of the lease costs and other fees that may be available. So he's working on that. I've given all the information I have and put it all together in a package previously to Caleb and to Mark. And then the Recreation and Parks Committee will be meeting on Thursday evening at 6:30. That is the 3rd. Thank you.
Okay. And then town manager's report.
Yes, I'll try to be brief because we do have a budget session coming up. I just wanted to remind everybody of the remainder of the 2021 budget schedule. This evening, we're going to go over some of the odds and ends and some questions that we have and information that we have and reductions that we have. And that will be after the town council meeting this evening. That will be a workshop. And then the finance committee, as our mayor had indicated, will meet next Tuesday, the 8th at 5:00 p.m. And then everything heads to the public hearing, which will be on December 15th, 2020. And then after the public hearing, the town council will vote on the proposed budget. Number 2, election update regarding the special election for council district number 2, on which we had no plurality, so we had no winner. And so I got some additional information. The town clerk has been working on the special election information as well as determining if people are interested in running for council district number 2. And she has been advised that there is a candidate who is interested, and she's made some phone calls. Unfortunately, she's out right now, but as soon as she's back, she will finish this project. Calling the state has verified there are no state elections scheduled in February, any type of referendum or anything, February or March. There is nothing until June, and actually right now, they're not sure if there'll be a June one, but usually a question will come in and there will be a June one. We would have a June election anyway because of the SAD budget. So as soon as the town clerk is back, she's going to finish up on the calling, and we'll have an order put together for a special election for the town council for the December 15th, 2020 agenda. And then if we look at the dates that are in the state law, many of the dates for the filing of the papers and the time to circulate the signatures and everything can all be reduced. And so it looks like we could have an election by the end of February or the beginning of March. And so we'll get that information together. There'll be an order on the agenda so we can resolve this and move forward here at the next council meeting. Number 3, I'm sad to announce, but fully understand it's a good thing for the individual, that we have the resignation of our recreation director. So Susie Morton has indicated that regretfully I have decided the time has come for me to transition out of my role as recreation director. Please accept my resignation notice. With the uncertainty of the future concerning rec activities as well as the changing expectations of the position and the recreation department, I believe now is a good time to resign and have it effective at the end of December. I have enjoyed my role as Pittsfield Recreation Director and am hopeful I made a positive change during my time. However, I must concentrate on my own business going forward. During the next few weeks, I will compile a notebook detailing responsibilities, timelines, etc., based on my experiences as rec director. And of course, I will be happy to assist and train a new person as well as assist the town of Pittsfield. Thank you so much for all your support during the past 3 years. She's indicated that she's enjoyed working for the town of Pittsfield Recreation Department since 2014, and that she's always appreciated, this was to me, your support and willingness to let me run the department. And she will see us all over the years here. So she's gonna put together information. This sort of matches in with the recreation department, looking over everything. And so we'll move forward and discuss that, I'm sure, Thursday evening. Number 4, the industrial park divider repair. We did want to acknowledge the efforts of Ed Hodgson Masonry, Inc., who repaired our divider at the traffic flow at the entrance of the industrial park. The firm did a very good job. It was an extremely reasonable price, well under what had been previously quoted by everyone that had come. It was so much money we couldn't do it. So sometimes you just have to wait for the right opportunity and the price, and it took a few times to bid this out to get the right price, but the work is very good. Number 5, the West Arts is a regional arts agency in Somerset County, and this was a program that the Heart of Pittsfield had really promoted. And I just wanted to note that they provided a report on all the activities they worked on. And so the one item I would note from here is that they plan for 2021 to focus a lot on the county seat, which is Skowhegan, because it's a service center, but also they're going to assist the High Peaks Creative Council in bringing their extensive public art trail called the Main Barn Quilt Trail into Somerset County. And this was created and installed over 30 murals of quilt block patterns onto high-profile buildings and barns in Franklin County. And that will be in this coming spring. There'll be some community workshops, and I know how much people here like quilting, so I thought that I would mention that. Number 5, Driftbusters rehabilitation of the snowmobile bridge at Manson Park. This project was thought it was going to take quite a bit of time, and it did, but it's all done now. And so there are photographs on several Facebook pages. I saw them on Greg Brown's Facebook page. I'm sure they're on others. The suspension bridge that ties Manson Park to the island in Sebastopol River is 160 feet long. This is part of the regular snowmobile trail, so it's good that they did decide to rebuild this. They were looking at having an alternate route when they first looked at this because they thought it would cost so much, but they did have volunteer engineering assistance. The total estimated cost of the project, which involved 212 hours of volunteer work, and this was within a very short period of time, was approximately $3,699. So it does look really good. Number 7, assistant position available due to a transfer. After scheduling interviews and holding a second interview, we did find a suitable candidate for the assistant's position who has background working in a municipality and is a project manager, critical thinker, and organized. So I'm completing all of the background checks, but we hope to have the individual on as soon as possible. Number 8, grant closeout letter for engineering for the airport. The town received its closeout letter verifying we met all conditions of our $128,000 grant for engineering work for the apron project with the hangar. So that is very good news and very quick. Usually you have to wait 2 or 3 years for this, and the auditor asked for it, but this time it came quicker from the federal government, which is good. Number 9 is closing out multiple grants, including our COVID-19 grant, as funds were expended. All the towns in the state which received grant funding got an extension automatically. However, we've already spent our money, so I'm just going to close the grant out. We received a grant for $28,100 for personal protective equipment, which is basically supplies, for promotion, for safety for COVID-19, and for enforcement with our EMA director going around and talking first for education and enforcement with the different businesses and nonprofits. And number 10, Working Communities Challenge Grant. An opportunity came available from the federal government, and in 2 days, we had to be part of a letter of intent for a $25,000 planning grant. And if that grant is successful, the grantee receives up to $375,000 to implement the project. There are 75 communities in the state of Maine who are eligible based upon statistics, poverty, service center, economic development, valuation, and a number of items. The grant is to strengthen the prospects of smaller places such as working cities and communities, to help people to excel together and provide for economic growth. It is to promote household financial stability and expanding employment opportunities for low and federal income, low and moderate income residents for quality jobs and childcare. Although the application did say federal, it's going to be moderate. So this had to happen really quickly, and it's just a letter of intent. If there's an actual grant application and we're asked to do one, then of course we'll bring it into the council for approval to file. So we teamed up with the Chamber of Commerce. So if the federal government likes our statistics, we'll be invited to write the grant, and at that time the town council would look it over. But it's to assist those people who are not employable to become employable through additional work training, providing child care, which is an issue in the state of Maine and in this area, as well as transportation for those that need it. And with the need for people to work at different facilities here in town, I mean, employers are desperate for employees at some locations. So if we can get more people trained and to assist them to be able to get to their jobs, that's a good thing. So that was a quick moving two-day process here, but we did get in on our application. It's sort of a long shot, but you got to try these things. Thank you.
Thank you, Catherine. New business, ordinance 20-17.
Ordinance 20-17 to be sent to public hearing December 15, 2020. The town of Pittsfield hereby ordains to authorize the transfer of unencumbered appropriation balances to various departments from 0510 police, and this is for animal control, $9,000, 2515 theater, $9,000, to 0520 streetlights, $2,000, 0525 animal control, $9,000, 10-04 public works, $5,000, 10-15 cemetery, $2,000.
Council will look for a motion.
Move we set ordinance 20-17 to public hearing on 12/15/2020.
Second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this item from the audience? Not hearing any. Councilors, do you have any questions about this item? The housekeeping item we do every year, pretty much. All those in favor of setting ordinance 20-17 to public hearing on 12/15, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That will pass and that will be set. Resolution 20-134.
Resolution 20-134, resolved that the town council approve the Pittsfield Winter Recreation Sports Guidelines 2020 Action Plan presented by the Recreation and Parks Committee for safety protocols for the 2021 ice skating program.
Move we adopt resolution 20-134.
Second.
Thank you. And we have, Catherine, did you want to say anything about this, or do you want to go over?
We have some members of the Recreation Committee that are in the audience, specifically 3 members. We received a very comprehensive package, and we have a member here ready to speak to it. If not 3 members.
Yeah, I guess I'll take the lead. My name is Lindsay Holmstrom, and I'm a member of the Parks and Rec Committee, and also I function in town as the school nurse for MSAD 53 for pre-K through 8th grade.
I'm sorry, I didn't get your name.
Lindsay Holmstrom.
Okay.
And so in working with the Rec Committee, we talked about the need to sort of kind of document and get on paper some more maybe stringent guidelines given our community situation with COVID in planning for outdoor recreation activities right now. And I know the potential for indoor recreation activities is still up in the air, and I think the Parks and Rec Committee kind of landed where the MPA and the Department of Education have both come forth with a recommendation And we are in the yellow as a county right now, so right now, based on those guidelines, things aren't really moving forward in yellow designated counties. While it's most likely true that we will not remain in yellow for the entirety of the winter season, I think it might be something we talk about more at the rec meeting this week. But in the meantime, for outdoor activities, we would like to see that we are able to move forward, at least with the skating rink in town, under the guidelines that we provided, which I hope you guys all got a copy of or a packet. Anything else you want to add?
No, good.
Questions, thoughts, concerns? I know there's a lot of changes that have gone on, especially around mask wearing requirements from really, we could say June until now. It's become more and more intense. But we would see that everybody wears a mask at a minimum, really anytime they're on campus at Pinnacle Park, inside or outside, which we would like to limit the use of the building pretty much entirely from the skating perspective. If one person goes in to use the bathroom or come out, but really skating, we haven't seen that people are there more than 2 or 3 hours, so we don't really access the building anyway. Other major things around it would be the recreation skating program, which there was the new revised sign-up sheet, which would require mask wearing, helmets, all protocols to be followed, similar to what the Department of Education and MPA have put out for school-related activities, where everybody is screened prior to arrival. They have to wear the appropriate PPE, that we do our best to physically distance the kids, and that we sanitize whenever possible. The only change I would say is that we wouldn't be doing temperature checks. It's no longer a recommended practice for multiple reasons, but especially outdoors in the wintertime with the thermometers, you're just not ever going to get a real accurate reading anyway. So we would ask that parents go by the guideline that they do for school, and that if they have a sick kid, they keep them home. And let's see, I think that's pretty much it. In the yellow designation, it's not advisable to do competitive activities, like meaning play competitively against each other. So right now our program is really a learn to skate, learn to play program, so it's more focused on skills and drills anyway. So I think that we would be okay. I think there's a very gray area around doing the recreation, bringing everyone together when we're in the yellow. I think it might be advisable to wait and do that in terms of running the rec program when we're in the green versus when we're even in the yellow, even though it is an outdoor low-risk activity. Based on what you have, I just think that bringing kids together in a group during yellow, yeah, during competitive stuff, I think we should not really proceed while we're in the yellow. Hopefully we come out of the yellow.
I think the council would agree with that.
Lindsay, do you have an idea with social distancing how many kids can be accommodated on the ice?
It depends on the age. Like the younger kids, we can fit more physically because they take up less space. So I guess last year, different sessions, we had between 15 and 18 kids a session, and that was pretty well spaced out, but not the whole time. It's a small rink, so I would say we really wouldn't want to run a session with more than 10 or 15 of the big kids, and we can certainly measure it to be more exact. But it's so fluid that they're moving around almost all the time. You're never going to be able to keep them at a 3 to 6 foot distance consistently because they just can't control themselves. They don't know how to ice skate yet. So they're going to get closer and further apart, you know. But I think that because you're outside, you're wearing a mask, and you do your best to keep them apart, I think the risk is extremely low for transmission in that setting. But I think 15, if I had to guess. With the littles, you could probably get away with more like 18 or so, but that's the number that I would feel comfortable at. But I'd like to get out there and really get a better feel for it again. Last year we were able to get them in lines together, and it would be tricky to do it that way.
And is there, do you limit spectators during this, like our parents ask not
It's
to
usually
stay?
so cold that they stand on the sideline, and so we would have to adhere to the governor's requirement for outside gatherings, which I believe right now is very low. I don't even think it's 50, right? It's 50 for outside. It was 100. I think they scaled it back even further. Yeah, so we don't have, the parents wait in the car anyway because it's freezing. So a lot of them drop the kiddos off and they get in the car. So I think that's a real low risk, and we can certainly spread them out if they're worried about having a 4-year-old on the ice without their parent in case they fell. We have tons of space around the rink, and I'm sure we would keep the numbers under the gathering limits.
So during the summer, the issue that we really saw was not the children or really the coaches through the whole period, it was the spectators.
Yeah, that's really hard.
This may be, as you said, partially, if not a majority, eliminated because it's so cold
Yeah.
that they'll stay in their vehicles.
Yeah, they just don't, they're not really congregating as much, because it is so cold. And they just wait in the vehicle, and for those that are more independent, for those that aren't, the parents stood out and actually helped sort of facilitate kids getting back up onto their feet. But I think going into the winter season and the heightened sense of the sort of the status of the state and our county that we're in, I think giving parents this packet and saying, this is going to be a little more intense than maybe what you saw in the summer, what you saw in the fall, and that kind of makes sense given our situation. I think we can get them to adhere to those guidelines and say, please no spectating in groups, and make sure you're wearing your mask at all times, or you will be asked to, get in your vehicle. Like being kind of more clear up front and making it very kind of concrete might help alleviate some of that stuff that we might have seen in prior months. Everything is just, it's intensified, and it's hard to look back with the lens of today at the programs of the prior 6 months and say that we did something wrong, because we really were doing sort of what the guidance at the time was saying, but now we know more than we did then, and now our transmission is higher than it's ever been, so we have to kind of err on the side of caution even more than we already have.
I did want to note that our EMA director, Bernard Williams, looked at the package, said it was very good, only changed a couple of items, and one was to add in a list of questions that had to be asked, and also noted that it should be 65 or 70% for the alcohol content on the state pages, which say 60.
Yeah, we can certainly, what we have and what we can carry from the rec perspective, we can make sure we have that percentage alcohol. I'm pretty sure 99% of what you buy anyway is to that specification, but I think you can buy some stuff with lower percentage alcohol, which we would just opt not to do. I would say Susie would help us with that, but I guess now we'll kind of look, whoever we work through, or if it becomes a committee interim responsibility, I'm happy to assume that responsibility.
We have finally found a good supply that's less expensive than the others, but still meets the requirements, and everybody's been happy with it. So I think we'll be all set.
Great.
Any other questions for the rec committee, counselors?
I think the report was pretty comprehensive and spelled everything out.
All those in favor of passing resolution 20-134, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Thank you. Resolution 20-135.
Resolution 20-135, resolve that the town council authorize the town manager to execute a one-year extension of the airport lease at the Pittsfield Municipal Airport for the period of January 1, 2021 through December 31, 2021 to the Trimble Corporation for parcels B and C under the same terms and conditions as the 2019 through 2020 extension of the 2015 to 2019 lease, except for dates and the lease fee.
I move we adopt resolution 20-135.
Second.
Thank you. Questions and discussion, counselors?
So why are we doing a one-year extension when is there one of the leases that's up for?
Their lease is up, it expires on December 31st, so technically, they do need to have another lease agreement. Theirs is the only lease that comes up. The rest of the leases, all when they're billed out will be from July on. This is just one that's at a different period of time. So
Why isn't it a 5-year?
because they don't want a 5-year.
Okay.
They want another 1-year extension while they look at their options and the costs of all the trades that they did for the apron, for the hanger that they wanted to put in the apron area that they.
So with this extension, does it allow to, if we decide to impose fees with the new contracts, does it allow for that?
So first of all, I put in that their fee would go up. And so their fee would be higher than the other fees that are currently in place by old agreements. Sometimes resolutions, almost all resolutions back in the 1990s. And second, there is language which indicates that with 60 days notice that the amount of the fee can change.
Okay, so that leaves it open
Correct.
if we decide to
Yes.
do other fees?
No, we're all set.
Okay.
Any other questions, Counselor?
I was going to say, you could read that long 20-page agreement and find it.
I like the short version.
I didn't read every word, but I did read most of it.
All right, counselors, all those in favor of resolution 20-135, which is a one-year extension, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Resolution 20-136.
Resolution 20-136, resolved that the town council accept the proposal of Tim Ames, owner of land located at 133 Dorothy Street, map 27, lot 59-12, to demolish and remove at no cost to the town a Millville home located on the property foreclosed upon by the town of Pittsfield in exchange for the town signing over ownership of the mobile home to Tim Ames, waiving fees for the material disposed of at the transfer station from this mobile home, accrued water and sewer charges, and outstanding taxes, costs, and interest.
Move we adopt resolution 20-136.
Second?
Questions, counselor?
I don't have a question, but I got a comment. I think that's a good deal all the way around. I mean, Tim Ames is gonna get that. Yeah, he can use that, and it gets rid of an eyesore, and it gets rid of a cost, a huge cost that could be a lot worse than it is if it stays there longer and longer and longer, and I think it works out well.
It does actually work out well, because otherwise the town would have to hire somebody to haul it out, or we would demolish it and haul it out, and we still have to deal with it. And we still have to write off the taxes, the water and the sewer costs, because we've been here several times and it's just a piece of junk.
Yeah, and Tim Ames can use the property, so it works out well as far as I can see.
So, I have a question about this. So, the way this is working is the property owner, Tim Ames, is gonna demolish the trailer, and the town of Pittsfield is gonna pay for the disposal fees of the trailer, or? is it-
We're going to waive any fees that are at the transfer station. If he brings up demo, for example, and when you rip it all apart, we're not going to charge for that instead of charging the fee that we have. This is a trailer that was owned by somebody else, which is on property which he purchased.
Mhm. But there's probably a 90% chance it's not gonna go to the transfer station. It'll probably go in like a big roll-off, and it'll go right directly to the landfill, so.
Mhm.
Does that mean that
Yeah.
Pittsfield will be picking up the tab for the disposal fees on that, or?
Yes,
Okay.
because we would have to if we went and hauled it off and tried to cut it up and everything. We'd be hauling it there.
Yep, I just wanted to be clear on that.
Yes.
Yep.
Catherine, in the past, when we've wanted to clear a tax-acquired property in order to dispose of it in a way that didn't go through the tax-acquired property process because we didn't have bids or something, there was an issue with the town needed to have set aside that tax amount in order to clear that. How does that work in this situation?
We would have sufficient funds in the abatement account to take care of that. The issue that we really ran across was the property that had, I think, like 7 years of taxes before I arrived here, and when I figured out what was going on, I stopped it being taxed, but we're stuck with this big, massive amount on the
That's
book.
like $49,000.
Oh, yeah, which is ridiculous. Whereas this is just a small amount.
a few $100s should be.
Yes.
Well, I agree with them. I think it's good, and they'll clean it up. They can put another trailer on there and then have another home available in town, as well as clean up something that's an eyesore and really not usable right now. That is probably harboring things that we don't want to be harboring in town.
We did secure it when we went up. It had been ransacked and all kinds of stuff was going on there, so yeah, it needs to go away.
I'd go so far as to say it will help the value of some of the homes around that area, because it is an eyesore bad, and it'll help.
Any other discussion on this item, counselors? Anyone in the audience have anything to say? No? Okay. All those in favor of resolution 20-136, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Resolution 20-137.
Resolution 20-137, resolved that the town council abate real estate property account number 336 for 2017, 18, and 19 for principal in the amount of $547.39 and cost and interest of $305.31 for a total to not exceed of $852.70 as the foreclosed mobile home is uninhabitable and dilapidated.
Move we adopt resolution 20-137.
Second?
Thank you. And so this is just the details that go along with the previous item.
Correct.
Do we need to have any discussion about this?
No.
Okay, all those in favor in resolution 20-137, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Resolution 20-138, same thing.
Yes. Resolution 20-138, resolved that the town council abate outstanding water charges in the amount of $97.96 and sewer charges in the amount of $126.45 as the foreclosed mobile home is uninhabitable and dilapidated.
Move we adopt resolution 20-138.
Second.
Okay, no discussion necessary, counselors? Okay, all those in favor of resolution 20-138, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass as well. And we're on to the behemoth, resolution 20-139.
Resolution 20-139, resolved that the town council accept the proposal of blank in response to the town's request for proposals for engineering services for number 1, cost estimates for capital improvement planning in the amount of blank, and 2, with the engineering firm's agreement that the pricing on the charts titled Phase 1, Phase 2, and Phase 3 of projects shall remain in full force for 3 years from the date of the contract. The town plans to choose 1 or more projects for implementation at its discretion each of these years only if funding is available.
Look for a motion, counselors.
Move we accept, adopt resolution 20-139.
So I made a chart because this is a complicated
I'm
one.
gonna take Tim's second so we can
Yeah.
discuss it, and then
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah, I think we can
insert
discuss it, yeah.
dollars and names here in a minute.
Mhm.
Okay, Captain.
I didn't want you to be hanging out there trying to figure out what did I put in there. Because I will say that we received the proposals back. Everybody did a great job. Who were the engineers? The costs differed substantially, as you can see from the bids. If you were to add up the cost of all the bids for the projects, the total cost, and you don't need to write these down, it's on the bid sheets. The total cost for Dubis and King for the cost estimates for capital improvement planning, and then Phase 1, which is to get the projects in order and start designing it. Phase 2 is to bid them out. Phase 3 was to get them constructed and have the engineering and inspection and everything. Their total fee was over $646,869. Plymouth Engineering's cost in total was $387,967. Oliver Associates was $1.370 $1,370,500, so basically 1.37 million. And Dirigo Engineering was $988,000. So, as you can see, we have a massive variation in pricing.
What was that? I didn't hear Dirigo Engineering.
Yeah, Dirigo was 988,000. So we went from a low of 387,967 up to a high of 1.37 million. And so these are for a whole variety of projects. We gave as much information as we could. Everybody was responsible to go out and look at the projects. But people have, from the interviews and asking the questions, there are asterisks and disclaimers over certain items. If it's not this, then you add on these items and fees and everything. So whoever we go with for the contract, we're going to have specific language that makes it clear as to what additional fees would be. For example, if a project is listed in here and interpreted by the details of the company that it does not require full-time inspection, but yet once we get out into the project, we discover it does, there has to be a fee schedule with a set fee to not exceed, so that we know what we're going out to bond or loan for, and we get the project that we need to have. And so some of the projects will not require full-time inspection, some will require it. So in looking at all of these projects, I made a chart from interpretation of what I thought you would probably have for projects. And so that's the new little chart that you have. Yes.
What was the number for Plymouth Engineering again?
Pardon?
The dollar amount for Plymouth.
Plymouth was $387,967.
It's not.
Oh, that's-
Is that this one on the back?
This one?
Yeah, it's, yes.
Exhibit A?
In your bid package, it has the bid opening, and it has phase 1, 2, 3, and the cost estimates. I just happened to add them up because there wasn't, when they put the chart together, there wasn't a total. So I just added them up, just to show you the difference in the pricing, which we're not accepting tonight, but it gives you an idea of what's here. So in all the interviews, everybody did a really good job, but there were a couple of firms that started saying, well, this isn't included, but this might be included, and they talked about how they could get us grant money, but then the price wasn't included, and so you start weeding through all this. So to put apples to apples, I took the capital improvement plan cost, and that is all of the cost estimates for the capital improvement plan, so we can have a nice component in our capital improvement plan book that has all the roads listed. So we'll know what the costs are projected for the projects. And as you can see from Oliver Associates, who already did it, because they had to do, to be thorough, they had to figure out what the costs of they thought the projects were that we had put into the proposal for the capital improvement planning in order to project out their costs totally. So you can see it's over $12 million. We're not doing all these projects, but it would be good to have cost estimates for them. So that's the first column, capital improvement plan, and you can see the pricing differed from $2,500 up to $7,120. The next column is 4 projects, 3 phases. So these will be the 4 projects I believe we will likely do over the next 3-year period. And I'm just estimating this.
What projects?
Yeah, on this one, the extra sheet that I put on the table.
Second to the last line.
Yeah. Got it.
So on that extra sheet, I figured you would likely do Library Street. If you look at the condition of it, it's very bad, bumpy. It's got issues of safety, I think, in one place. But it's very congested. It has a tiny sidewalk. It doesn't need ADA. It's got water and sewer, storm water, and there's other things under there, as well as it's a widely used method to get from MCI over to the library and back and forth and then to Main Street. So I figured you would do that. I thought you'd do Connor Street, because it's right by the town office, the area is sinking in. We need to fix the sidewalk, but to fix the sidewalk, we gotta fix the road. So I figured you'd do that one. And I figured that you'd do the Sebastian Street culvert because it's on the MDOT, Maine Department of Transportation list of places we're supposed to fix because it's in fair condition. And we already did a culvert and it worked out good. So we figured we would do the second culvert and do the lining of the culvert. We're not going to dig up the road or anything. And then the Crawford Road Bridge was also identified by MDOT, but when we put these out to bid 3 years ago, MDOT was bidding everything out, so you didn't get many bids because everybody was busy working on bridge work. So Crawford Road Bridge abutments need to be fixed. So that's your second column, and that shows price differences. This is where you get, so you got 3 of them that are pretty close on what they've estimated the projects are. You got Dubose and King has 127,572. You got Plymouth Engineering has 119,484, and you got Dirichlet Engineering at 131,000 to do all the engineering from beginning to end. So that's why you see, we start to see that there's some similarities there. And then I figured that while we're doing this, and with the condition of the massive subdivision that is up at Hamilton, Birchwood, Maple, Hemlock, and Arbor, just its condition, I suspect that you likely are going to want to have that engineered and bidded out, or at least look at part of it. So if you did, I figured out the prices for those, and that differed a lot more in the cost. So in the end, we would be accepting the capital improvement plan. If we want to if we go with the figures, the capital improvement plan of Plymouth Engineering for $7,120, and then we'll pick out projects to do after that. But I suspect it's probably the projects listed here.
For Plymouth Engineering, under 5 projects, it says 56,000.
Yes.
Is that,
Yes.
everybody else is over 100,000?
That's the work for all of the engineering and to bid it out. It's not to do, for any of those, it's not to do.
It's just to do the engineering.
Yeah, it's not
of
to
what
do
would
the
have to be
inspection.
done.
Yeah. I mean, once you got done with this, we would probably need $6 or $7 million to take care of that subdivision. But
the subdivision is
in bad shape.
in terrible shape.
It is.
Terrible, terrible shape. Their roads are barely wide enough for 2 vehicles to pass, and the sides of the roads are crumbling.
The pavement's coming on.
It's a mess. And people up there complained about the plowing last year. What are they gonna do? I mean, they did the best they could, but the road has been in terrible condition for quite a while.
Yes, yes.
Catherine, did you double check and confirm this 56,000? It just seems so
I know, that's why I
odd.
asked.
It's so far off of the other ones, and even the 106 is half again of the Dirigo, and more than that of the Oliver. It seems like a very large
It
gap.
seems like a
there.
mistake.
Yeah, it seems
Like
like
somebody left off the
156
number.
or something.
Are you positive of that number?
Plymouth Engineering is typically lower cost than the others. Yeah.
So the more projects, maybe the lesser the cost?
For some of the companies, I suspect Dubose and King told me that if they engineered several of these together, they would probably lower their price. But right now, it's not lowered.
No.
Plus, Plymouth
see that.
is right next door pretty much, and these other companies have almost an hour worth of travel time between.
Right.
I believe we've done work with Plymouth Engineering many times in the past.
And if it turns out we don't like the way this is going, we just don't do any other projects.
Right.
But this would allow us to get a engineer for road projects, which is something that we've lacked. We've gone from project to project and we're not getting any economies of scale. And if you want to add in a true capital improvement plan for the roads, we've got to do some engineering. And do I think Plymouth Engineering has everything in there they should? No, I don't. because I know Oliver Associates has everything in there and probably too much. So I suspect there are, part of this has to be good wording on what if there are additional costs, what the chart of the cost is. And that's why we need to, that's something you need to do with any project like this.
I think if I remember right, reading the description of the companies, Plymouth Engineering was probably the smallest
Yes.
firm that had bid this out. Do you think they have the capability, staff-wise, in order to complete the projects? I mean, it's a pretty significant amount of time.
It'll be over a 3-year period. It's likely we're not gonna do everything on the chart. And it's likely we're not gonna be able to come up with the money to actually build up the roads, but we'll have them all ready to go if we find grants, for example. Or if somehow we can get some sewer and water money. And again, this is just my idea of the projects that seem the more needy, the ones that we should do. It doesn't mean you will, you might decide to do different projects, but I had to break this down somehow, and it seems sensible.
Well, the subdivision is pretty obvious.
It's in deplorable condition.
Yeah, and I mean, it's not my district, those people pay a ton of taxes up there. I mean, honestly, I would not be a happy camper if I was living up there with the roads in that condition, paying the amount of taxes that those homeowners pay up there. You're talking a significant amount of money.
So this would be a first step forward, because frankly, we can't go up there and pave them.
No.
No,
No.
the pavement won't stick. So is this perfect? No, but I don't think it will be with any engineer. The other alternative is to just keep bidding things out separately, and, you know, which isn't gonna get us forward with a capital improvement plan very quickly.
Well, with Puritan here and the video, and we're trying to entice people to move to the area and businesses to the area, I think we need to do this in some fashion. I'm just not sure what.
It's a start,
I
and the
don't-
roads are only gonna get more used, they're not gonna get less used. As jobs pick up, you're gonna, people are gonna be driving more. So, the
So
roads are gonna deteriorate
these
more.
are just examples. You might decide to do just one project and it'll be less money. You might decide to do more. So it'll depend on the financing that we have and the monies that, once we get a higher valuation and see where we're at, how much money we will have available.
So I think that for the last several years, what we heard about is the roads. And I think that taking that step towards having the engineering ready, targeting certain projects that we know need to be done, especially the ones that the MDOT has put on the list of things. Bridges are kind of important to make sure we have them fixed and stable. So if our motion were to be for Plymouth Engineering, Catherine, is it the 183,71 that's the amount that needs to be in there, or?
We would just accept the capital improvement plan for $7,120.
Okay, so that's the
Okay.
only amount for tonight.
And then we're working out the details, which will be, each one would be a motion when you decide to do it,
Okay,
if you decide to do it.
so the commitment for this expense item, and with this, when would this start? Or would we start
They
it?
said they could start immediately.
Okay.
In fact, everyone did.
Mayor, I'd like to make a motion.
Certainly.
I'd like to fill in the blanks for Plymouth Engineering in the amount of $7,120.
Second.
Any more discussion on that, counselors? Anyone in the audience have any reflections they'd like to share on this item?
The only thing I can say is that we have worked with Plymouth Engineering in the past, albeit sometimes you have to push engineers.
In general.
But in general, but they've come through for us on many occasions. If you look at their list of projects, they may be a small firm.
They do a lot of work.
They do a lot of work, and it seems like it's good work, so.
And they're local.
Yeah, I think that a lot of people are locally vested in this area, so they're gonna,
Yeah,
in my eyes, they're gonna work a little harder.
we know where Scott lives, so that's not a problem.
Okay, councilors, we have a motion on the table to accept the bid of, to accept the proposal of Plymouth Engineering for $7,120, and this is for the capital improvement, planning. All those in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Not hearing any, that will pass. Discussion items.
Very good. This will be brief. It's just on your financial report. You received it over the weekend. For the budget and the revenues for October 31st, we are through 83.3% of the period. For the municipality, for the municipal expenses, we have 65.7% of the budget has been spent. And again, as you know, we're saving out as much as we can and have not sent the capital reserve money in yet to the reserves in order to make sure we're going to balance the budget at the end of the year, because the revenues were lower for a number of months because we were closed. And then when we look at municipal water and sewer, we've got 60.2% of those budgets are expended. For the revenue collection, again, we're at 83.3% of the period. And we have 63.3% of the municipal revenues collected and 61.4% of municipal water and sewer, which is low. But again, we've been catching up every month. State revenue sharing comparison from last year to this year, this is one of our accounts that's working out really well. We are $111,033 ahead of 2019 collections at this time this year. And the excise tax comparison, we are $42,412 ahead of 2019 collections at this time of year.
And that
So these
doesn't
are
include
good.
November, right?
This is October, and then
Right.
you'll have November shortly, yes.
That's pretty good.
It's good news.
So that's the only other report that I have. I said I'd keep it brief because we have a budget session.
Thank you. Any questions on that, Counselor?
At which the budget session, I have good news on the future.
All right, we will go right to reports in the audience. Colonel Wiley, do you have anything you'd like to?
No, I don't have anything to report. I just repeat, anything I can do, you tell me. As commander of the American Legion, or I worked with MCI and both the ballet program there, and now I'm bringing in the ROTC program.
All right, all good things. Mike, do you have anything you'd like to say aside from your?
The only thing that I can say is I hope, as a resident of District 2, that you proceed expeditiously in getting a District 2 counselor. I know of at least 2 people who would go out and they only need like 25 signatures, so that's not an obstacle. And I think you'd find that the turnout probably wouldn't exceed anyone's expectations. It would be relatively small, and I think you could do it pretty fast and get it done. And the individuals I know, quite capable, long-time residents of Pittsfield and have served on committees. So I encourage you to do that sooner rather than later.
But
Well, from
we can't
Catherine's-
have an election, right?
From Catherine's feedback earlier, it sounds like we're going to set an election date at our next meeting on the 15th. And then because of waiting times and things like that, it'll be March, late February to early March for the actual election
Yeah,
date.
we might be able to cut it down a little bit. I need to get with the town clerk. We've got the legal review from, this is where, when you're cutting down the different schedules from the usual period of time, which is 85 days, you have to be careful you do it right, because if not, you invalidate the election. So we've got legal advice, and the town clerk will set up the schedule, and we'll have a proposed date.
So February-ish
Yeah, February.
is about the earliest
That's a
that
good
it can
time
happen.
frame.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, the budget will be over with and.
It's actually good, once we get into April and further on, it gets really busy again.
Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Counselors, Pete, would you like to start this evening?
I don't have anything to say.
Okay, Deb,
No report.
Tim?
I just want to thank Mike for coming in and giving us an update on the film. I think it'll be good. I think they can use it differently. They'll find a good niche market for that. I'm glad that we did act on Plymouth Engineering because we do need to get the gears in motion because we are going to have to fix some roads down the road. And I've been up there in the subdivision. I got an aunt that lives up there, and those roads are atrocious. There's no question about it. There's bad roads everywhere, all over this whole area, not just Pittsfield, but they need to be looked at. And Puritan's coming along well. I see they demolished some of these old buildings. I'm sure they had asbestos and other issues, so that's good. Those will get cleaned up. And things are moving along. The river's awful high after all this rain, so we're gonna have to keep an eyeball on that. My pump's working overtime, so. And one other thing, I just want to tell, and I could have done this, but I'll do it right now. The meeting of December 15th, yeah. I may be late for that. I've got to go up north that morning and spend some time with my grandchildren and my daughter that lives up in Fort Fairfield. Depending on if my grandson gets out of school in time, because they're going to have their Christmas because of COVID. They got a 2-month-old and they don't dare to travel down here and all that. So they're up in Fort Fairfield. So it's about a 3.5 hour ride. I'm going to go up about 8 o'clock in the morning. I'll try to get back down here and get at least part of this next meeting, that meeting on that night. However, I mean, I more than likely will be late. I'll try to get, but I'm not going to rush through and run right home because, I mean, you know, that's our Christmas time with them. So I'll do the best I can, but I will be there. I'll be here at some point. I'll try to make it sooner rather than later, but just wanted to let you know
We'll
that.
hope for good weather.
Hope for good weather.
Yeah.
Anyway.
Safe travels.
Safe
And
travels.
if you have comments or anything on the agenda, you can send them to Catherine and myself and we'll incorporate
We
those.
can hook you up with Zoom up there.
Yeah. You're lucky if you can get a television station other than from Canada up there, let alone Zoom. But thank you anyway. I'll, like I said, I plan on getting here. It may be a little bit, I may be late, it may be, you know, I'll do my best.
We'll
And
take that family time and you can get it for sure.
Yeah, and other than that, I have nothing else. Thank you.
Okay,
Thank
thanks.
you for coming in, Mike.
Matt?
Yeah, I just want to make a quick note to acknowledge everything Susie's done for the
Yes.
rec department and thank her for leaving us with a notebook of knowledge. It sounds like she's going to set us up pretty well for the next person. So that's really nice of her, and thank you for everything she's done for the last few years for us. We really appreciate it.
No, she's been very helpful, and I can understand this is probably a good time for her to break away.
Yep.
And trying to run any business, you know, she has a new business and all these COVID requirements and everything, you really got to concentrate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I know how that goes. Yeah. And that's all I have. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. And I would second Matt's remarks about Susie and the work that she's done for the rec department, and certainly a very well organized person, and appreciate that she's has the diligence to leave everything nice and tidy for the next person coming in. And, you know, it is probably a good time to have a new person coming in because everything's going to be changing, and it's also a very quiet time for programming right now, so a new person can kind of get their feet in there and really see what's going on. Mike, thanks for coming in and providing an update on that. Look forward to seeing the full video, and I think we can definitely come up with a bunch of places to put it for sure. And that's all I have for this evening, so I will look for a motion.
Will we adjourn?
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
We are adjourned. Do we want to go right
Mike.
into?
Mike,
budget?
tonight. When would it be all right to get together so I could view that video?
Tuesday? You want to see her right now? No.
Isn't there a link? You can email it, right? Isn't there a link?
Oh, yeah. I'll forward you the email.
Yeah.
with the link and it's got the password.
Oh, okay.
It's like
Actually,
30
you didn't
seconds.
get it? Maybe Gary will send it to a couple of us.
Here, it actually didn't work the first time. I had to call him and ask
That's right,
him about it, because I
yeah.
couldn't get it to work the first time.
I've got your email. It's only,
It's like 30
30
seconds,
seconds,
maybe.
but it
It's a
shows you the
tiny
quality.
bit of it.
Yeah.
But it's good quality video and well done, and,
Good night.
yeah, we'll see, it'll be good.
I think so.
You said it's what, 2.5 minutes long or so?
Well, that's the finished product.
Yeah.
They're gonna have to break 30 seconds off that. You
Yeah.
can't. Yeah, if it's on the town's website, 2.5 minutes, you can watch it, but you're not gonna pay for
No,
2.5
no,
minutes.
no.
Can we take a break?
Yeah, you wanna take like a
Yes,
5-minute
yes.
break?
Yeah.
Come on.
Thank you.
I'll leave this all on. I think the session will be pretty short. It's pretty much just to summarize where we're at and what items we want to look at.
Is this the only thing that we're discussing here?
Yes,
Okay.
unless you have other items. I tried to consolidate everything that was open, and I think we need to work a little bit on whether we're gonna have a third loan or not.
I think that's the biggest question that
Yeah.
remains right now.
So that's where I need to get all the bills, Steve has the bills, and so figure out maybe where we're at with the loan. That will tell us what we can do. Or at least can help us for a couple of years. And he doesn't have every bill either. I know, we never had to call people multiple times to get bills. Thank you, everybody used to always give us a bill.
Yes.
One, two, three.
But the problem is, you know my handwriting, I can't type it out the way it's
I think it's just
You read hieroglyphics? All right,
Deb said she was gonna have, difficulty getting it to be back right.
I'll give it to you, but like I said, you know my handwriting.
Yeah.
So you was one of the teachers that didn't change left-handed kids to right-handed. No. Them left-handed people were evil back then, didn't you know that?
Yeah.
I don't know what possessed people to think that that was a good thing, because that was a long time ago, changing left-handed kids to right-handed when they weren't teaching them how to write. That didn't make any sense.
They tried doing that to me.
They did it to me, and that's why I got D's and penmanship all the way through school.
It
They
doesn't
should
make
be
any
sloppy
sense,
writing.
it's prominent. So
Now, they don't
Heather,
even
we
teach them
actually
shit.
didn't
No.
have everybody
No.
come back from quarantine.
I know.
Oh, you have, I meant to say that somebody is still.
You know what
out
they used
there.
to teach when I was a kid? They had this
Can't get
this
the
class, I
test
can't remember what
results
they
because
call
of
it.
the big,
What they do is they
influx
say,
of
okay, they
testing,
sit them up
what's
to seventh
going
grade,
on,
and say, you and you were married, they
everything.
laugh and
So,
roll, you know, kids
I
are.
think we're
Yeah.
gonna help
I'd say-
tomorrow because this is gonna.
This is your budget,
Mhm.
these are your bills,
I expect more.
and
Yeah, I
a
will say
week,
one
you're
thing.
gonna sit down each
Every
class and
employee
it's called
does
a
it
life
once
skills.
all the
You're gonna sit down,
That
Good.
can
and
wear
we're
one.
going to
Good.
Because
present
now
a
they
budget.
finally see
Because
it's
it
really
always
here.
Yeah.
made sure you
Yeah, I
had
mean, there was
too many
20
bills.
deaths today.
not enough money.
Right.
And they,
No, this
they
is
put
gonna-
kids together that they knew that
Yeah,
many
it's
clubs,
the
they
next
knew they
two
were
weeks
like
is
Occidental and
terrible.
social economics.
And then
Yeah.
you got Christmas.
And
week
you see them
after
start
that.
squabbling like
And
dairy
then
cows.
next week- Yeah.
It's pretty funny,
So,
really.
it's-
What it did is it
Yeah.
set them up for later on to know how to do a checkbook and know how to balance it. But, you know, that stuff isn't taught anymore. It should be. It really should.
No, we're gonna go, we didn't do that with the other workshops. either.
There you go,
No.
free.
Yep. So, everybody all set to kind of carry on here with our budget workshop?
All right, very good. I did a summary sheet for you. I think that this can be brief and maybe an assignment can be made to the finance committee. But I thought we'd go through what our changes are. So you set at your November meeting, second November meeting, on November 17th, you set the budget to public hearing because to meet the time requirements of the charter. So unusually, we were able to make some changes to the original budget because you had already approved the changes. So the changes that are already taken care of and in the motions that are on and will be on the agenda for the public hearing on 12/15 is that on 12/27, you reduce the code's contractual legal account from $10,500 to $5,800. So you figure that that was enough court case legal fees, enough for one case, as long as it didn't get too complicated. And it could be 2 or 3 cases, depending on what is needed. And this, of course, all came about because people were frustrated over how there were dilapidated nuisance, what was considered to be nuisances around town, and people did not pay attention to the town staff, the code officer on this, so legal action would have to be started. So you were able to reduce that down, so that saved $4,700. On 11.4, you deleted the consultant study for a town-wide department efficiency review, which is something would be good to do, but would be difficult to do now because of the COVID and we have other priorities. That was $12,000 that was saved. And then on 11/10/2020, I went through the recreation budget, looked at the last 3 years of expenditures and looked forward and looked at the fact that we likely would not have a whole year of recreation program, and was able to reduce the recreation part-time hours by $7,271, which would not have cut into anyone's pay. And that actually had been for the part-time assistants and not for the recreation director. So that saved $7,271.
May
So
I
you
interrupt here?
Yes.
At this particular junction,
Yeah.
when we did the highway transfer and police department, I thought that when I went home and looked at my notes, the increase in the police department's budget was 14.7%, or 110,000, and we're at over $750,000 for a police department for a town of 5,000. So I went back and I looked at the budgets starting with 2018, moving forward, and to include the year we're working on right now. And in 2019, there was $162,859 increase from 2018. That's approximately 16%. Then in 2020's budget, $108,760 greater than the 2019 budget. And then when I looked at the 2021 budget, that is 110,000 over. So we're looking at anywhere from 12% to 15% increase every year in the police department, and everybody else is trying to keep their budgets as sleek as possible. So I'm no longer in favor of their budget and recommend that it be reduced by at least half of that 110,000.
Can we put that on pause for a minute and finish going through the adjustments that we've already made?
I just figured because that was deletions, that would be the time, but yes, we
Well,
can come back
Catherine's
to
just
it.
summarizing the changes that we've agreed to make so far, and then that would be the next thing to look at,
Okay.
is other changes that we would want to make to budgets, I think.
Okay.
Whether the police or other budgets along the way, I think. But let's finish the summary that we have going here, and then we'll take a big bite out of that.
So I was finished on the deletions that you've agreed on. It's $23,971. So that's in your figures on the agenda, so we don't need to do anything else.
Right.
And then for additional items that we had open, we had not put in the 53rd payroll because we wanted to look at options and see if we could put half of it in one year and half in the other. And the auditor said, no, we can't do those things anymore.
Of course.
And so for a conservative, reasonable amount, in a holiday week in which there would be overtime for the police department, it just would happen, there's no way because they'd be working on the holiday. We came up with $27,210 would have to be in that unclassified budget. We would not go put this all through the budget because you don't want to add it into all the budgets. You want it, it's something that happens every 7 years or 9 years if you have a leap year. So you would put it in a separate account and then just use that to pay the last payroll. So that would have to be added in. Now we had absolutely wonderful news here. Health insurance costs will be the same for 2020.
Wow.
So there's no increase, zero increase. It's never happened before.
You better write that one down, because it won't have to get in your
Mark
lifetime.
that on
And
the
this
calendar
is
somewhere.
self-funded, MMA is self-funded, so it's all contained, and of course they've sent us emails about how COVID cases are out of control, we need to get it in control and everything to everybody, and we haven't had one referred yet, but we will, I'm sure. So in any case, that is an estimate only. I put the P there, and I put the draft at the top, because there are some people on grandfathered programs that have a different percentage than everybody else, which I took out. So quickly, off the top of my head, it's $37,772 to save, but it's gonna be a little bit more. But I've gotta go through and calculate it. So we can reduce the health insurance automatically. I'm not gonna go through every budget and take it out, because this is where you cause confusion and start making mistakes and everything. We just change it at the end.
Give us the bottom line.
The bottom line is what you're gonna get. I found that's what happened when I came here. You actually had the wrong budget. And it's easy enough to do, so I've always done the changes all at the end, unless it's easy to do like these few at the top were, because it was so early on. So we're going to save at least $37,772. There'll be a few more dollars than that. And then we were notified by the USDA that they will allow us to modify our loan agreement terms. We do not have to budget for a reserve. We can utilize the funds that are in the overall large reserve, the sewer sludge reserve. Anything over $600,000 we can use. So we have to keep a minimum of 600,000, and we're up over almost 900,000. So we'll have some money that we can spend on projects. And so this will not reduce the sewer budget, because we'll just call what is already in there and like an asset account, debt service.
So it can just be moved.
Yeah, we-
300,000, or almost 300,000.
Yeah, over some years, we'll start
A
using
little
that
bit
money.
here and there.
Yeah, so basically for that engineering work we're doing, if sewer work was needed, we could use some of that for a loan, basically.
Awesome.
And so it's already here, which is really good. So we would, in the sewer budget, change the title of that reserve account, which is called sludge removal, and just call it debt service new project, whatever it is. And so that will be no change. So at this point, it looks like we are $34,533 less in total. So this is good. And then the undetermined item that we have is what to do with a third loan payment in 2022. In 2021, we won't have one. But there was concern about what would happen in 2022 if we take out another loan in 2021. And so it's been suggested that we take $45,000 and put that into the 2021 budget, so that if we had a payment that was due of $90,000 for a third loan, half of it would already be there, and then you would have half in 2021 and half in 2022. And it may
And
be
start
that
putting money into the paving.
yes,
Reserve.
for paving, yeah, and you could put it there. So at this point, we will have money left from the loan that we took out, because the paving cost was less and what we accepted was less. And the amount that Steve thought, Public Works Foreman thought he would be spending on fixing the roads up appears to be less. So we're trying to get all the last bills. He's reviewing it all now. So I want to make a chart and find out exactly what's left in the loan, and we may have enough so that you would have the money for a loan payment. So by next Tuesday, one way or another, we'll have all the bills from all the contractors on all the projects that we've done with the loan money, so we can see exactly what we have left.
So that would be 1 year of a loan
Yes.
payment, and you're talking another 706-ish, because that's what we took out before, or a 500.
You could do less if you wanted to. See, whatever we put in, let's say on your chart, in the capital improvement plan, if you authorize 706, you can borrow less. You could borrow 300,000 if that's what you thought you should borrow. It just gives you the authority to go to 706,000.
Okay.
We,
And, go ahead, Matt.
on the, regards to the little bit that's left over, we wouldn't be smarter to take that money and apply it to the principal of that loan, so we're not paying
You could
interest?
decide to do that too. That's an option. There's a whole bunch of options here.
And
We
I
could
know-
even just decide to do another project that needed to be done in the
Yes,
Public Works
you can do
Department.
that.
That's kind of
Still
hanging out
have to,
there that needs to be
You have
done.
the cash to pay for it.
We've
Right.
already borrowed the money for it,
Right.
we already have it in our pocket, we
Right.
already have a list of projects that need to be done, so it would just matter, I think it just is gonna depend on how much is actually left.
Yes, and that's
So-
what we need to know, so we can't make a decision tonight. So
No.
I'd suggest this item go to the finance committee next Tuesday, and Steve's gonna have to have all the bills, and I will call the companies too, and talk to Steve about getting all those bills, so I can see exactly what we have left.
Okay, so it's finance committee will
Yeah.
deal with that
I,
next week.
yeah, that sounds good. I just, very, very concerned about taking another loan
Of course.
and not knowing how we're gonna pay for it. I mean, we are using the, which fund is?
Pittsfield Future Fund.
The future fund. So if we take out another loan, that's the end of that.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm
So-
not in favor of that at all.
Yeah.
The only way to
I'm not-
Keep all your way to
pay
prosperity,
it.
it won't work.
I know we need to spend money to fix the roads, I understand that, but I don't think that the town can support another loan, at least for 1 year.
No, I understand. This is what all towns go through. Remember, and I've talked to the assessor 3 times, and I understand that, there is no possible way, unless they go out and appraise everything that's going on, that they will know what the value is for the town. So we're not going to have that until next summer. Because I wanted an estimate for the larger projects, and then I would do calculations and see where we would be at, and then I would probably cut it back a bit so to be conservative, because I think your valuation is going to be a lot higher, which then is going to
Hopefully.
make your tax rate not go up as much.
Right.
But at this point, I've asked enough, and I understand there's no possible way they can come up with a figure, and they're not going to do it.
So we just have to wait.
So that's sort of an unknown. I thought I would go to the building permits and take the value and say, if it was this is what would happen based upon the same circumstances. I mean, I've guesstimated this pretty well. I've never had an issue over the years, but I've never had this much of a jump all of a sudden with a budget that was going up. I've had it with a budget going down.
I think you'd be taking a pretty big risk there, kind of
Yeah.
rolling the dice if you did that.
Yeah.
You're better off just
Just to wait.
wait.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, in another year or so, we'll know
We'll
more
know.
where, economically, where this whole region of the country is, and it's kind of an uncertain time to be borrowing putting out another loan. I mean,
I mean, the interest
I don't think
rates
the
are
taxpayers,
low.
I think they balk, I really do.
The interest rates are low and that's attractive, but
Right.
I think we need to err on the side of caution since we've just taken out 2 very large.
I think a year from now, you'll see, we'll have a pretty good idea what we're looking at for revenue coming in and all that, because we'll see, I mean, we really haven't felt the whole thing for the Puritan yet either. That's just gearing up. So I think in another year, we'll have a real good idea of where we're going in this neck of the woods compared to what we know right now, I would think.
Both Puritan buildings will hit the tax roll
Yes.
next April.
Yeah.
Because they're not on there now,
Right.
as completed projects. So that alone, never mind additional building in town and other things that are going on. We also should bear in mind that the school budgets may have dramatic changes as well based on things that they need to do over the next year. planning forward as well as the state budget. We don't know what's gonna happen with revenue sharing
Right.
and things like that, and because the state's got a big hole in their budget right now, in their biennial budget. So those, I mean, I'm okay with not doing any large loans and projects next year, but I do think that we need to be putting money into our budget in preparation of that. And if we can have a gap year to kind of like build up a little cushion
Yeah.
before that hits us, I think that that's a good plan. And if there's a way that we can kind of, do we have, what kind of accounts are these monies in? I'm assuming they're not just in a checking account, but there's some interest-bearing accounts. I mean, this is a lot of money, $900,000 in the in that sludge
Yeah.
reserve. I mean, to have that just sitting in a checking account or a non-interest-bearing account for a period of time,
Well, it's
doesn't
in
make
the, it's in
sense.
the reserve accounts.
And those are all interest-bearing
Correct.
accounts?
Yes.
As much as they can be, and the reserves have to be invested certain ways, so that rate, until recently, was less than the checking accounts, but all the checking accounts everywhere have gone down, including Androscoggin, which was very high.
And we don't have any options of investing it in a different way.
The CDs are all very low. I've called around and checked. I've called other banks. This is, I've never seen it that low,
Those
but
are
that's
low
why we can
interest
borrow
rates.
the money. So
You get 3%, you'd be very, very fortunate, I can tell you that right now, you'll never see that.
Mostly,
Yeah, I remember loans at 16%. You had some when I arrived here, you had loans at 18%.
Yeah. I wouldn't even do that.
Yeah, I know, you
Yeah.
could never pay it. It took
Yeah.
you, twice as long to pay it back.
Yeah.
So if we did a gap year, that
would help.
that may be a way to do it.
What about now, just for clarification, the USDA, the 300,000 or approximately, that can only be used for
Sewer,
sewer work.
yes.
So maybe some of our projects should be sewers before
That's how-
we pave.
Correct. Yeah.
I don't know what it's like up in what the sewers are like up there in that area, but that might be something we could look at. I'm sure they probably, just like everywhere else, need updating.
I don't know if it makes sense to go in and do a sewer project, tear the road all up, have to patch it, and then say, oh, we're gonna come back in a couple of years, and then we're actually gonna pave
It's
it.
gonna
I
be a
think it
lot
makes-
longer than that.
Well, I think it makes more sense if you're gonna go in and tear it up and do sewers, then fix the road at the same time, and then you're not going back and redoing, do you know what I mean?
I know what you mean,
It's
but
expensive, but.
generally what happens is you do the sewer and the water when you can get the money, from
And
the
then you-
state and federal government, and then the paving comes along later on after it settles down, but usually just a year later, not longer.
Yeah, not 2 or 3.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing that out as.
Yep.
And I think that we also have the ability to, if we were to take a loan, it doesn't have to be a $700,000 loan
Right.
or a $500,000 loan. You know, it could be a smaller amount to do some of the smaller projects that we have. If there's a section that we know we can take care of a sewer section and then also fix the road and culverts
Right.
and things like that at the same time.
I suspect on roads other than the subdivision, you can do that.
Say that again.
On other roads, I suspect you can do it in
But
part.
not up in the
I
subdivision.
doubt it.
No.
Because
No.
they all want to have it paved.
I
once
think
the
it's all
sewer work is done.
interconnected and it's all in the same condition.
Yeah.
So those are the items that I had, so I think the finance committee could talk a little bit more about this and whether we would go to, this will just be the gap year, and we'll save up money. We'll know, we're going to know how much is gonna be left in the loan account, so that we can see what we're gonna do.
Going back to that comment. That means we were putting $85,000 into that, so that's
For the loan.
85,000 that we don't have to put in the budget, or we put in the budget somewhere else.
So.
Isn't that what we talked
It's
about?
sewer, it's
Yeah.
sewer money,
It's the
so.
sewer money, so in the sewer enterprise,
Okay.
you're entirely correct. But what we already did was lower that down to 30,000, thinking that they would lower it at least to that, according to Annalise. But we kept calling them up and sending them a letter, and that didn't work, and then, I happened to get to the right person who got it right in front of the right person, and they agreed to, take care of this, but then pointed out that, a report from 2006 needed to be filed. So we did that, and so then we got the letter which approved, this is what happens when there's so many people at home looking through files. So in any case, that worked out well. So it was a condition of our loan to put the 85,000 in, and that was put together because when we had the estimates from 3 engineering reviews, 2 before I got here, 1 that was going on when I got here, they stated that the price of what the sewerage removal was going to cost. And it cost a tiny amount of that. So the loan that we had put together with the grant was based upon the original estimates, because you had to do something. That was your bid amounts, basically. And so then the loans were signed, and they said, no, this is your loan, you go by it, and once you get to a certain point, you know, we'll consider things, we'll consider a change, which they did. So this is good, very good. So that means that 30,000 can be used toward a sewer project, and so I'll change the title of the account from sludge removal reserve to debt service new project, or project.
Makes sense?
So this is all good. And I also wanted to report that the Manson Park Committee will not be charging the town any field maintenance fee this year in the rec budget. So the $4,000, it would have been a percentage of that, but because that was for several seasons, and we didn't have that. So they're not going to charge anything this year, and they're considering not charging anything next year. Yeah.
That's nice.
So that'll be good.
It all helps.
Many good things.
It all helps.
Yeah.
So do we need to do anything with the rec budget then, or based on that?
Let's think about whether we want to cut it down or cut it partially down.
We already cut it down.
We did, yeah.
Quite a bit, didn't we?
And are we also, not really, it was the part-time person that went and found another job anyway,
Yeah.
is basically what got taken out.
Okay.
Do we need to make adjustments that we're not gonna have, I'm assuming we're not gonna hire someone by the 1st of January as rec director, or when are you gonna start dealing with that?
I think if we hired somebody, they're not going to have many hours
Right.
at all.
Can we consider that the recreation committee,
They may say they'll be the rec director. Well,
The-
we got to talk to
the
them.
direct, yeah,
Yeah.
but, I mean,
For
we've
a
just
while.
agreed to combine all of those
Mhm.
committees into one committee, so, and all the different areas are represented on that committee. I think it makes sense to have them.
Well, I think it
Do the
makes
work.
sense until it becomes busy, because at that time they will see exactly what's involved.
Well, that's the thing, it's like the rec director actually does like the scheduling and handles all the emails
Behind
and
the
phone calls.
scenes.
Yeah, they're actually like putting all the parts and pieces in place, and the rec committees are actually kind of looking big picture maintenance and programming and that type of thing, versus the rec director is the person that actually like gets all the ducks in a row and has coaches for everything and does all that part of things.
So they could handle the winter sports, but during winter sports, we're planning for spring sports. So if there's going to be spring sports, that's the busiest period.
Yeah.
Most complex.
Once your thing goes to green, they're gonna wanna go, you know, they're gonna wanna start playing, you know what I mean? And,
So I would prefer to advertise, but I did want to talk to them. But obviously, anyone that came on is not going to work the usual 20 hours a week, because it's not that much work. So
we might
yes,
have a little, we might have a little bit of a
Correct.
that budget as well.
Yes, yes.
At least for 3 months of the year.
Mhm. Yes, exactly. Mhm.
Okay.
So the health insurance, I'm not going to change all the budget accounts, but I will get the exact figure. once they go through the grandfathered plans, which are not many right now. And so that will be on your sheet that goes to the public hearing, so people can see that. The 53rd payroll, do you want to add that in?
We have to, don't we?
I think you do, yes.
And I think we better do that then. We don't wanna get in trouble.
All right, very good. So that's all I had.
Alright. Why don't we hopscotch back over to Deborah? Deborah, do you have the page number for this year's page?
Page 20, oh, wait a minute, it's page 22 and 23. And what I did, when I went through all the line items, starting with travel, I did not do anything with add in personnel services or any of the health insurance, just the stuff that we have control over, which we don't have control over anything above 05-20. So I went down and compared every line item.
So you want to start with travel and let us know if that changed over the 3 years?
Okay, let me get there. I should have brought my ruler. Okay, for travel, and yes, travel in 2019 went up $1,200 from $300 to $1,500. Training, I can just give you copies of this, Heather, if you want.
I'm just trying to follow along here.
Okay. Training and conferences in the academy in 2018 was $2,400, and in 2019, $4,000 was budgeted, an increase of $1,600.
So part of that was the Dirigo that we approved in 2019, and I believe was this year the first year, Catherine, that we actually spent money on that program?
Yes, it didn't get spent last year.
Dirigo, what it?
It's a training program, and what it does is it updates all of the, they provide updated manuals and policies for the police department. And by having a company do it for them, it was much more cost effective and time effective. Am I remembering that correctly?
Yes, it hadn't been started, I believe it has been started now.
Right, because
So that's $4,300 of the training and conference line item of $8,000.
It's a lot of money to pay if you
Sam?
didn't do it, but if you do it, it's not.
So, how do you want me to read this to you? Because, do you want me to just go down 1 year at a time, or read you the 3 years, or make copies so everybody can see it?
It would have been helpful to have copies. Why don't,
Well, I did this,
why don't you go down through like you were and telling us what the 2019 and 2018 amounts are for each of the items?
okay, so you have to travel in the training. Then, membership dues went up $350 over to 2018.
Oh, wait a minute. What was the amount in 2019?
In 2018, it was $350. In 2019, it was $700.
Now it's gone to 2,000.
No, are you jumping ahead?
Membership and dues?
Well, I personally, it's not necessarily the line items. I think it's the bottom, we should look at the bottom line. I did not, when I did this, I did not use any of the personnel stuff. I started with account 05-20 and moved down through, and I think we should just be looking at the totals.
Well, that's what I'm
Because
asking, is what were the
I
increases
think that
in
the
those
police,
other?
I think the police department can operate at last year's level and still accomplish what they want to accomplish. I'm not going to agree with 14.7% increase in a budget when we're only giving employees a 1% raise. So,
Can you continue going through the 2019, 2018? Because you said that the items that you looked at are the things that we have control over versus the personnel. So let's look at those items specifically, rather than just saying like, cut 15% off the budget, because that percentage increase is including all of the personnel service changes and things like that. If you're looking just at the bottom line. And Catherine had told us earlier that most of the increases in the budgets were due to personnel.
The increase will still be high, but it will be a less percentage because of the health insurance being less of there's no increase.
So do we know how much the health insurance for the police department will change? Because that would change the bottom line that you were concerned about.
Yeah, it will a little bit. I'm gonna, as I
I
said.
just wanted to put this out there, and I'm not comfortable with the amount that has been presented, having looked at these. So
I
if
think
you
to be
want, I
fair-
can make copies of these and get them back to you so we can discuss it at another meeting.
Do you want to address this pass those copies around, like, make copies for us? And then discuss it at the finance committee meeting on Tuesday so that everybody can look at those?
Yep.
And then, I don't know, Catherine, would you have an idea of what the change would be for that other line item?
$9,000 roughly for health insurance from last year, if it's the same as last year.
Yeah, and it's gonna be a little different because there's different people, not everybody's grandfathered now, but yes.
Well, we also, I have a note here that the workman's comp went up $13,000 for the police department.
Yes, I may not have that estimated high enough, but I was unwilling to put it up any higher.
So we're looking at a reduction in health insurance because they're not changing it. And Matt, you said it's about $9,000 in reduction?
Yep.
So would it be helpful if I lay out side by side what the 2019, 20, and 21 amounts are, and then you can see it?
I'd like to see that for the
Spreadsheet.
public works department as well, because
It's the
let's
same
just
thing.
put this out there, they're both increasing.
Yeah.
And we're asking, you know, in my eyes, we're asking both parties or departments to increase their services, so therefore their expenses are going up, so. But it'd be, just to kind of be fair, those are the two departments that have gone up the most.
Those are the two biggest departments too.
Transfer station stays the exact same, and fire department stays almost the same, and cemetery stays almost the same. You know, all the other places really stay similar. The two biggest.
Yes, but what was the percentage? What page is that on?
I don't know that looking at the percentage of change was the
The
best
public works
story
was
though.
less, but still, it was a high percentage. All right, why don't I say,
7.8% from public works.
yeah, so why
So
don't I,
half of
let's see.
the police department.
Yeah, okay. I'm thinking the easiest thing to do is I would take the budget as it is, make a little draft number 2 or whatever, fix the health insurance, and then lay out beside the 2021 what the 2020 was and the 2019, then you can see it side by side, then you can see the increases. Yes, just like you did.
Right.
Yeah.
Can you do you think a spreadsheet would have enough room to do 2018, 19, 20, and 21? Because we made a lot of changes.
Yeah, that's where I started, was 2018.
Right, we made a lot of changes, in 2019.
Yeah, 2019
So then
is
we
when
could
everything
see
changed.
2018
Yeah.
before any, like when things were still pretty stable, and then 2019 is when we started making quite a bit of changes to our procedures as well as the priorities that we had, I guess.
Yeah, 2018 was under the old budgeting system that you had for many years. 2019 is when you started your new budgeting procedures, and then some departments came in with changes and some didn't. Yeah.
Okay.
So are you gonna do that, Catherine?
I am,
Okay.
Great,
with your help.
so we'll
Yep.
put that
So,
on the agenda for the finance committee meeting. Are the councilors that are, so Deborah, Amanda, and I are on the finance committee. Pete has joined us a couple times. Are you guys okay with the committee
am.
looking at it first and then?
Yes.
making
I'm very comfortable with you
recommendations?
guys looking at it, and I am sure that you'll come up with a
Because it's gonna be,
consensus that this is what
because the
needs to look
15th
like.
is the public hearing.
Right.
So
So we'll look
that's
at
our
this the
last
8th.
opportunity to
Yes, yes, it is.
change anything.
Yes, because we're not doing anything with the budget after. the 15th.
No, we are
no.
not. No, we are
No, I'm
not.
very comfortable with that. I'm sure you guys will, the finance committee will hammer that out and present something that we can live with, that makes sense, and
Can you make a 5 o'clock meeting?
I'm confident of that.
It all depends on week to week, but yeah, I usually try to get you.
Right,
Huh?
so we'll dig into it a little
I
bit
usually
on
try to get it.
Tuesday, and then we'll see where we get with that. And we're also, what's the other item we were gonna do,
The loan,
Tell me
whether the
about
loan
it.
or not, yeah. Or
that
debt
we were gonna talk
service.
about the loan versus debt service versus.
In general.
Okay.
Yes, my schedule gets so much better tomorrow, I hope.
Well, I hope it's
If
not
everybody
better
comes.
after this meeting.
We need to
We
get
should
everybody.
be a breeze from here.
Oh, yes, well, we have to get everybody off quarantine too.
Well, that's true.
Or else I'll be doing the warrants tomorrow night. Because we gotta do it.
Okay, so finance is gonna deal
We're gonna look at the police.
with police and public works.
Those are the two biggest budgets.
Can we also let the department heads know that we're gonna be discussing the
Yes.
budgets at that meeting if they would like to join us in one version or another,
Yeah.
whether in person or not? And then we'll also talk about the loan.
About the what?
The loan, whether we wanna do a loan or
Oh,
not.
oh.
See,
and
this is
what
where-
the final numbers for the paving projects and all that.
This is where a comment that Matt made comes really into play. Once you add in all these positions, which we did, then it snowballs after
Oh, yeah.
that. Yeah, with
It
all the
does.
personnel costs.
Yeah.
It does. Personnel, people are expensive.
And-
Everything to do with employees is expensive, from the taxes to the insurance, all the different things that you need to have in there.
And we've proven that over the years, not being understaffed did not do us any favors. When the budgets were, when Catherine was asked to keep the budget, operating budget, don't make our taxes go up.
You,
I did it for many years.
you have to build in a reserve. And the other
We're
thing,
actually getting to see how much work each department does.
Oh, yeah.
And
And for a number of years, it worked out really good, but then it started getting really, really, really difficult.
right,
the other thing, and I've said this before and I'm gonna say it again, I probably won't be on this council when this happens. Hopefully, what I'm really hoping happens is that, these jobs pick up and we wind up with more of a tax base, we wind up with more revenue coming in, and that way we can keep what services we have. I mean, we had to get rid of the movie theater, I understand that, it wasn't cost effective anymore. The problem is if it continues the way it has in the last couple of years, 3 or 4 years, which I don't think it's going to, by the way, let's hope not. Eventually, you're gonna get to a point where something else is gonna have to go. And it's not gonna be pretty, because you don't, I've heard people say, well, maybe we ought to look at just joining Somerset County for police and not having our own police department.
yep, I've heard that too.
And you ought to do a cost analysis on that. I've had people tell me that. But on the other hand, and by the way, there's nothing wrong doing a cost analysis either. That way you know what you're looking at. But if you're trying to grow your town and your population is going to increase, the people are going to want a police department. I mean, they come, as it grows and it gets more housing, they're going to want to keep the services they got. So hopefully, the economy will grow, our revenue stream will grow, and then we can maintain it, like you said, build in the reserve so that we can maintain it over over a curve of time. If you don't do it that way, something's gonna have to go.
See, we would,
I've been saying that
Yeah.
for a long time.
And I don't wanna see anything else go, but, you
I
know,
don't either, but, you know, if
the
push
money
comes
has to be there to
shove,
be
we have
able
no
to,
choice.
the people
That's
have
all
to
there is.
be able to absorb it and pay for it. And, you know, I'm just hoping the best thing to do is grow the economy. Hopefully the Puritan thing will help a lot. We don't even know what the full effects of that will be yet.
I have some suggestions for next year.
That's all I wanted to just throw out there.
Okay. Any
No.
other last minute thoughts, counselors?
No, other than this and the highway, I think all the other departments really
Did
did
you
a
have-
good job.
Actually, Catherine, did you have what the percentage increase would look like with those numbers that we currently have?
it's not much of a change at all,
Still
but
around
yes,
Still around the 10%? 7%, 10%?
it was 7.4, I think.
Okay.
I think it's just about the same, but, I
So
will,
where does that translate in mills?
well, next year it'll be totally different, so that's what I'm not estimating on.
Okay.
I'll figure out something for the finance committee meeting.
Just like to have some kind of idea.
Yes, because this is different. I have been very fortunate. I've been able to always project this all out. I've never had an issue for decades, but I've never had this much of a change with this much of a budget and this much of a valuation, which we
All at the
have no
same time.
idea. If, let's say, a project went in at 40 million, that does not mean we're gonna tax it at 40 million. We're using our factoring in our charts.
Right.
Everybody's treated the same. So if everybody is 50% lower, everybody is, so it's still fair. It just means the mill rate's higher.
But overall, we know our valuation's gonna go up.
Oh, yeah.
That's
Well,
positive.
That's
It is.
positive, yes.
It's gonna go back to where it was before, because the homestead exemptions ate away right into that, which helped the citizens with the houses, but, did not help the businesses and the landlords at all, and people
Right.
that own land. They took the brunt of the tax increase. So all these changes, I think you'll find your valuation will be back where it was years ago, and you had a really good valuation.
Yeah.
That'll be nice.
The other thing too is, a lot of people don't realize is, and we don't advertise enough the trailer place up here, that's building these trailers are gonna be hiring more people. I mean, that's a business that's growing, they're gonna grow a lot of room up here at the,
Well, they're expanding our
Oh,
company.
right, yeah.
yeah.
They
So,
need
I mean,
more.
jobs are coming. If we could, hopefully, like I said, in another year and a half, we'll have a different
Right.
landscape to work with as far as revenue streams coming in and things of that nature, hopefully.
Well, Walpole is expanding as well,
Yes.
so they'll be
Yes.
adding jobs.
Yep. More tax revenue in buildings.
Well, and with adding more jobs comes more money for the businesses that we have here, especially if we can come up with some zoning so we can someone can develop some housing for us. Grocery stores, the
Actually, I was thinking of that when Mike was talking about where to put our video for advertising and looking at businesses down in that corridor. And we should be advertising to construction companies.
Absolutely.
You know, to people that are contractors down there that maybe don't want to be contracting in the city, or that want to come up to the country and have one final development, and that's where they retire or something like that. Those are, there's, I was talking to a dairy farmer over in Bethel. His neighbor had an old dairy farm, and he retired. He put it up for sale. He figured he'd have 6 or 9 months to get ready to move. It sold in 3 days.
yeah.
This is what's
For
happening.
over the asking
People are running
price.
away, think they're running away from,
Well, it was a contractor from Boston, retired, sold his business, and was moving up to the area. And it's several hundred acres, so, I mean, there's certainly the possibility that he'll do a development right near the ski area.
There's a movement to get out of the cities, is what it is.
There is.
There
There's
is.
a movement to get away from
Oh,
more
yes.
populous areas.
which makes us more.
It makes us very attractive,
Yeah.
and, you know, having a town with all the services in place, and a small hospital here, an excellent school, you know, all of those things make Pittsfield very attractive, and I think all of these other steps that we're taking kind of can just add to that.
And I have to say, when the new residents come in, they are simply amazed that with all the quality of life items that we have, you know, because we explained them all out, they just can't believe it all.
When-
And
on
then,
what?
when they get their tax bill, they ask, when is the other half due?
Yeah.
Yeah.
In New Hampshire, and this was
Twice a year.
a few
you get your
years
school
ago,
And you get your real estate.
a house, the same, my house is 1,500 square feet. That same exact footage in New Hampshire, the property taxes were $8,000.
Well, that's because there's no sales tax in New
Right,
York.
Right, I
everything's
know.
to the
It's a
property.
completely different
So the
tax
property
base.
owners are the ones that are bearing the brunt of everything,
Yes, they are.
which is not good.
And the other thing, like I
I
said
don't
too,
wanna see that.
building in some reserve for some of these projects. If the economy improves and we get a better stream, that's when it's gonna be so important to build in the reserves, because, you know, everything goes like this. So the next time it rains, we'll have an umbrella, you know what I mean?
Yeah. Anything else, counselors?
Will we adjourn?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Most excellent. See you next week. Ish. 15th.
The 8th.
Well, the 8th is the finance committee meeting, but the 15th for another.
15th, the hearing.